Yahweh Sipatai Tiftachu Fiagiti Latecha. All praises to the Most High. I was waking up in my sleep to pass on a message. A lot of times when the Spirit comes and it's hard for me to sleep, it's because the Creator wants me to bear witness. I am at His service day and night. I am compelled to continue in this path by bearing witness and testimony of the great glory of the God of this universe. So I'm going to keep preaching despite the fact that it makes many old loved ones uncomfortable. It's going to be a while, so let's keep it up. I hope that everybody's feeling great. In light of the eclipse coming, in light of the season that we're in, and that part of this solar eclipse symbolizes as our Savior, or as Hamashiach, the messenger of that time, was on the cross. It states that it also was an eclipse, a solar eclipse, meaning that death and resurrection was taking place. Part of my series of Resurrecting the Walking Dead, this will be this mass of awakening for this final exodus, for this final call for judgment on the anti-Yah. Satan's time is up, and he will be put back down in the beneath the earth to that lower level, wherever that spirit has been chained up is going back. I believe that according to the spirit that's being revealed to me, and a lot of times I want to say this, we look through books, I searched through several 5 and 6 different books just to gather one message, and then I allow the spirit to decipher that, because language, perception, and all of these things have been translated. So if you want to just study the literacy of a word, knowing that it's King James Version, or is that the rabbi this version, or you have to collect all this data. But more than anything, what we was taught in the Holy Land was to identify spirit. We had been stopped looking at the flesh. Yeshua also says that the flesh profit nothing, but the spirit is what quickens, or the spirit is what gives life. So I've applied these teachings. When I heard that, then I had to say to myself, what does that mean that the spirit gives life and the flesh profit nothing? That means that the flesh is just a host for spirits. Goes back to my piece when I'm talking about Genesis, and that we got trapped here. We stopped evolving. The motion of life, the cycle of living water stopped. And then that's when we got a death date. From the time your spirit enters into this body, this physical flesh, and it cannot be part of the whole of all Yah's creation, the trees, the water, the animals, the earth, and all of the elements in which we was able to pull together as spirit, as ruach, to make and manifest these different shapes of bodies, that we all are different, but yet one and the same in spirit as it relates to being connected. So if the spirit gives life, then you start to have to identify people based on their spirit, and not what they talking about, not what they doing so much, but what the spirit is moving and guiding in you. If someone tells you the truth, there's an internal feeling that resonates. Why is it an internal feeling? Your gut feeling, or your heart feeling, or your mind feeling. Why are these things we can't see? And the sad part about it is that we can believe in a God that we've never seen. Think about this now. For thousands of years, but we can't believe in the person sitting right next to us. We can't believe that the Creator speaks through him, because it's not what we want to hear, or we have to argue about the technicalities of what this book is talking about. I've lived the life, the lifestyle that I've lived as a young man, growing up with a righteous name, in a righteous environment, around righteous people at the time. Because it was their spirit. I had to go back and reflect myself upon these men who I considered to be leaders and elders and fathers and uncles and mothers, and say, well, how could they be this far asleep now? Or how could they be physically dying? or how could they be physically sick? Then I said, because I know what I saw. I know that feeling. I know that power. I know that we was walking through these gates, blinding our enemy coming into this land. So I know that Yah was there because it was proven based on the way I was taught how to pray and how to be resurrected. They told me who to call. You call the name of Yahuwah. I read the book. It said that. I seen them people call him in my day, and I seen it work. I seen people come out of the slum. I seen people come out of total darkness. So Israelites, I'm speaking to you now. I don't represent the Gentiles. I represent my own people. If you can't see the manifestation of the Spirit of Yah housed in a body, then how can you say you believe in something invisible, except that now you're hallucinating? It has to manifest itself in you, and then it reflects itself by the people you're around. You can't be of righteousness, and all you attract is all wickedness. Then something deep inside of you is causing that to be, and that's what we got to start checking in balance. So I wanted to make that clear about that, because we're going to always have everybody different percentage. But if we arguing over the English language, if we arguing over the language that definitely was forced in our mouth to change the way we think, to oppress us, to deliver a chastisement, then we never ever going to get to the top. The first thing that the Edomites did was switch the language. Wherever country they came from, and they spoke all different kinds, the main language that gave them power in the land of ours was they spoke the language that's after your name, Ivri. How you think they in charge of the whole world? They speak in the language that commands the universe to answer to it, good or bad. Now, if we don't take it back and do it and use it for good, then the earth is going to constantly be out of cycle, because the way he created the heaven and earth was to respond to the command of the words spoken by the Adamic family. This would make. So now when you lose that power and it falls into the hands of the serpent used the same words, but he's used it for evil. Because the order of the angels and the luminaries were to be the dominion of the heavens, but he gave us dominion over the whole cycle of the universe and everything planned. So now that it's in an evil spirit can be in the body, then evil can also access the power, because the energy is just flowing. Some people take the energy from the sun and make food grow, make machines work. Some people take the energy from the sun and burn people and use bombs and use the reflection. It's all kind of different things. We have to get stewardship back of this earth to put things back in cycle. It's not going to happen hocus pocusly. That being said, I want to read some things to show, so we can, those who have ears and eyes to see and ears to hear and a mouth to speak, this is the words that you should speak now, so that we can identify, how did we get off? Where did we go wrong, Israelites, as a people? And how is we supposed to get back? We arguing over Mashiach and Jesus and this and that. Let's find out what's going on within us. Activate the God in you, and then the gods around you will be drawn to you. Reading from this book, the Hebrew Prophets, and I'm going to be jumping from spot to spot because it's so much just come to me. It says, do not imagine that you secure your own survival. Life is a gift, and living is being gifted moment to moment. You are not in control. You do not grow your hair, beat your heart, think your thoughts, or feel your feelings. All this happens, but you are not the one who makes this happen. You ever really thought about it? make hair come out of our head? Do we control our heartbeat? So who got your heart beating? Since we say it's our own life and we can do what we want to do, who makes your heart beat every day? Not the guy that do the triple bypass and all of them other things that's as a result of a fallen system and a failing people, and as a result of witchcraft and this beast constantly, what do you call that word? Constantly guinea pigging us, since I can't remember the exact word I'm trying to say. Experimenting. Nisayon. So he says, you don't beat your heart, you don't even control your own feelings. All this happens, but you are not the one who makes them happen. It is the way of the ego to imagine itself as God. It's the way of the ego. Now the ego being that serpent, being that tree of good and evil to make you believe that you are God. That's your ego. To imagine itself as God. To take credit for everything you have achieved. We always talking about what we did. Especially the arrogance of the people, of our people. He says, we always, the ego makes itself as God, and to take the credit for everything you have achieved. Well, I did this, I did that. And to blame your failures on others. And to blame your failures on others. This is the prophet talking now. The challenge is to call out to Yah even in the midst of plenty. See, that was one of the main problems that caused our people to fall. I'm speaking of where I'm from first, and then my heart goes out to the chosen ones of Yah, all Israelites that's been scattered to the four corners of the earth. It says, when the challenge is to call out to Yah even in the midst of plenty, when things were going good, when you had a pocket full of money, when we was in our glory, or we was showing the kingdom off to the world, and then it was going good for you. You saw things not going right, but you didn't call out to Yah when it was going good for you. He said call out to him when he have plenty. Not call out when you get reprimanded. Not call out when you get in trouble. But call out to Yah when it's going good. When you at the top. When you was a Nasi. And you saw some things that wasn't going right with your fellow brothers. You were supposed to call out then. How many people have walked away guiltless? Everybody waited till they got into some trouble, and then it wasn't right. It can't work like that. We stand for Yah whether you in good shape or you in bad shape. But you can't accuse another man of doing you wrong when you know in your heart that you have not done right yourself. You cannot buck leadership order. You cannot buck the divine ordinances of Yah. You cannot turn and refrain from the laws and commandments that was given to the inspired prophets and messiahs because you see some injustice in them, and you know good and well that your mission and purpose was to do right as an individual part of the whole. There is no single blame. But we as men must look at ourselves and listen to what I'm reading. God desires the heart, and to get at it, God sometimes rips out your frozen chest, the stony heart. At least this is how it seems. You can become so complacent, so sure of your own success and happiness that you imagine you have no need for God. You can become so complacent, so sure of your own success and happiness that you imagine you have no need for Yah. Tell me, am I lying or not? we had gotten to a point that we said, we don't need the Bible no more. We can just read out of Abba's books. We made it. We've been here 50 years. Ain't nobody can tell us nothing. Ain't nobody did that. Became so complacent now that you don't need Yah because you done said that I'm Yah. Individually. Doesn't work like that. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about our situation, and there is a way out. Rather, I live to see it. If you turn this back around, my elders and my brothers and sisters, my leaders, if you say you are of Yah, then these words should penetrate your heart and make you consider now. How did they know this thousands of years ago? And how did I can relate to this as living in a place that was the kingdom? I'm going to read that again. You can become so complacent and so sure of your own success and happiness that you imagine that you have no need for Yah. It is then that you need Yah the most, when you happy and you having success. It says your success becomes your idol. You begin to worship every day what you did. Your success becomes your idol. Watch it now. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So even when you boast about yourself and you magnify what you have done or what we have done as a group of individuals who pretend or consider themselves to be the ones who did all the work. Just the fact that everybody showed up, that was work. Just the fact that everybody is still there, did the work. Just the fact that everybody that swept, everybody that cleaned, the people that cleaned the houses, the people that cleaned the toilet, the people that sleep on the ground, all of that is a part of the whole. Your success becomes your idol. You worship it as proof of your own power and autonomy. You worship it as proof of your own power and autonomy. But in fact, you have little power and only vague autonomy. See that? You worship your success as proof of your own power and autonomy. We did this, we did that, we got this. This our stuff, this my spot. Get off the keyfire, get out of here. Do that. No. Let's be humble now. And let us remember that we are all men that can sin. See, the problem is we keep saying that it's negative when you talk about the bad. And let's just talk about the good stuff we did. We always focus, but that's the secret wickedness. You have to talk about the bad in order to correct it. If you don't talk about the bad, then you have nothing to measure your good with. Because you can be dead right. The Palestinians that are blowing themselves up and Aish, whatever they call it, ISIS, they dead right. The Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy, they dead right because in their mind, they're saving their country. In their belief system, they have to preserve the white race. They consider themselves good Christians. These ain't no guys, these are family men. In their mind, perception of deception. He said, but in fact, you have little power and only vague autonomy. You do not control the moment, but only your response to the moment. You don't control the moment, but only your response to the moment. Even the consequences of your response are outside of your control. Do right because it is right. That is all you can know. When you turn your back on Yah, you turn your attention to ego. You worship yourself, and this is the beginning of your destruction. I'm going to close with this, and then I'm going to start on part 13. When you turn your back on Yah, you turn your attention to ego. You worship yourself. Listen to what we got into now. Listen to what happened to us. Listen to what happened to us, and if you turn around in an instant, the process of repair will take place, and we will strengthen the nation. It's a reason why Yah done this, and he has not annihilated us, because he has left such a margin for redemption, reconciliation, and to show these heathens who we are, and to restore the power, because his word will not fail, and we did get back there under the covenant of the promise. Let's talk about it. When you turn your back on Yah, you turn your attention to your ego. Now you start thinking, these are uncorrected sins. This is iniquity that keep getting covered up, and you are not addressing it. We are not sitting up saying, I did this, I'm wrong. We are not going to our wife and saying, wife, I'm sorry. Child, I'm sorry. I did you wrong. I didn't know no better. But I can tell you, child, I can tell you that Yah Yisrael did bring us here. But you will let your child, or you will let your wife go and be condemned to hell because we too proud to say we sorry and correct the sin so she can come back home and be saved. That blood is on your hands. This ain't no joke. And you wondering why death is in the midst of the people. Because sin has to have death, but we can repent it with restoration and turning back around to Yah. When you turn your attention to ego, you worship yourself. You done got so caught up in believing that you is the it. That's the beginning of your destruction. This did not happen in the last 10 years. This was a 25, 30-year process. Since the day of Shoah Strength, we had began a decline of moral spirituality. I'm going to say it again. Since 1985, 1986, the day of Shoah Strength, we began a decrease of morality and spirituality, that it ended up today that the offspring's third and fourth generation have rejected Yah and you as being the mediators of Yah. I'm a witness. I'll be back, because this is very, very critical. It says right here, he says, I looked after you in the wilderness, in the parched desert. When you gazed, you became full. When you were full, you grew haughty, and you forgot me. He gazed at us. He took us out of hell, put us in the Negev prophetically. And when you gazed, you became full. And when we behold the kingdom, when we saw the glory of the kingdom, when we saw Rabbi Ben Ami coming down with these laws and these great, prophetic things that was conducive to life, we became full. And when we were full, God, ooh, man, everything that we was calling was coming into existence. I lived in that time, young people. I've seen the glory. I've seen the kingdom be established. I know the feeling. See, that's what everybody missing. Y'all done lost sight. There was a feeling that you felt being a part of this great kingdom. He said, and as soon after you was full, you grew haughty, and we forgot about Yah. He goes down and says, I will maul you. I will rip open the hardened shell of your heart. I will devour you like a starving lion. The beast of the field shall split you open. You have destroyed yourself, turning your backs on me, your only help. We have destroyed ourselves, turning our back on the Creator, our only help. I'll be back with the next part to this, because it's important that we know what we're talking about this time.